So I can't believe that it is May already. May 5th to be exact. This will come out tomorrow, so May 6th. And it's the weekend. So hopefully you got some time this weekend and good weather to get out there and get some gardening jobs done. And if that's the case, then I happen to have some for you. Now up front, I gotta say, it's 2023, and that means it has been a really weird winter and spring. Completely different. So my notes are a lot from previous years, and so they have to be tweaked a little bit for me. So I'm going to give you the normal jobs for May. Hopefully by the end of May, all of us will be caught up and everything will be running smoothly. But as you can see, there's a break in the rain. It's been raining this morning. It's still cold. It's still too cold for peppers. Here in May, that is unheard of. Let me know in the comments how far behind you think you are. If you're an experienced gardener or even a fairly new gardener the last few years or so, and you know that this year is completely different from other years, let me know how it's different for you. So my first job generally for May is to plant out my peppers, whether that's transplants from the garden center, whether that's seedlings that I've grown inside. However, our nights here are still in the 40s, and heat lovers like peppers and melons and zinnias for flowers, those are all heat lovers that like the minimum temperatures to be 50 degrees, and that's at nighttime. Well, we're not there yet. So I've got peppers inside started that really need to be potted up by now, because usually they just go from the tray into the garden. That's not happening. I've also got peppers out in the garden that I overwintered or tried to, and this is the first year that they're really not just taking off and getting started, actually before now. So I may or may not even have peppers that I overwintered actually work this year. Now, those of you who overwintered your peppers indoors, don't put them outside until the nighttime temperatures are at least 50 degrees. This year, a lot of my cool season crops are still going strong, even here in May. So I'm letting them. I mean, just, don't push it. This is where gardeners have to kind of go with the flow a little bit, let nature take us for the ride that it wants to take us on, and then just play catch up when we need to. Sometimes I get people who ask me for recommendations of a YouTube gardener who might be more in their climate, in their zone. And sometimes I know somebody that I can refer them to, and I do. But each county and city and even yard has its own microclimates. And while there might be overarching information, each person is really going to have to, through experience, learn how their property works, different sections of their property at different times of year. And in years like this, we're all just kind of experimenting and just taking cues from nature to know what to do. Like I've told you before, my neighbors who are a little bit down the hill from me can get frost where we don't have any. So while it might be useful to have a YouTube gardener in your area, I think most YouTube gardeners, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but for myself, I try to give temperatures rather than zones. I try to give temperatures so that wherever you are in the world, I have people from all over watching. In fact, down below in the comments, say where you're watching from right now. I would love to know that. But that type of information is something I can give out that I know anyone, anywhere, can take that information and use it in their garden. So if your temperatures, like mine, even here in Southern California, have not hit 50, 55 degrees at nighttime as the low, hold off on the heat lovers. However, for most of us, as long as you're past your last frost date, now is the time to get all the rest of your summer crops in. So carrots, lettuce, beets, chard, tomatoes, cucumbers, squashes, corn. The list goes on and on. There's so much to choose from at this time of year. As cool as it might be right now, we know that hot weather is on the way. And for us here, that's hot, dry weather. And so now is a great time, no matter where you are, to really kind of take a second look at your irrigation, either the setup you have, the practices you use. I, of course, as you know, if you've been watching me for any length of time, always recommend drip irrigation. I think it's the best way to water plants from below. I think it's the most efficient in terms of getting the water where it needs to be and saving water. Any drip irrigation you put in, you're going to notice a savings on your water bill, I think the first year. I know I did. But drip irrigation can be intimidating. It was for me for years. So tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a video putting drip into the cottage garden. Now, this area has had no irrigation, no plumbing whatsoever. So I've dug the trenches, I've been laying the pipe, just planted the cottage garden, and now I'm tearing it up. But tomorrow I'm going to show you A to Z how to put in drip irrigation. And if you are scared to do it or intimidated, I have to let you know, I've done other videos like this in the past for drip irrigation, and I've heard from so many viewers that once they just did it, they realized there was nothing to worry about, and it was way easier than they ever thought possible. And I'm going to show you that in tomorrow's video. I'm going to do it how I do hopefully all my videos and just take you through holding your hand step by step, A to Z. So by the end of the video, you will be able to go out and do drip irrigation, not have to stand out in the sun for hours on end every single day in the summertime. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss it. Now's a really great time to go to the garden center and pick out flowers that are great companion plants for your vegetables. Some good basic ones are cosmos, dill, marigolds, basil, and sweet alyssum. Now, if you want specific science-based companion planting ideas for all the different vegetables you grow, I'll leave a link down below to my book, Companion Planting for Beginners, and you'll be able to grab that and have that as a great reference for years going forward. If you didn't already do it last month, May is a great time to start thinning your deciduous fruit trees. These trees put on more fruit than they can possibly ripen successfully. And so in June, it naturally sheds a lot of its fruit. It's called June drop. But if we take the reins and do it ourselves before that happens, you can actually get a better production because you're taking off some of the fruit before that time. So it gives it an extra month of actually getting more of the attention from the tree and getting more nutrients. You're gonna get bigger, juicier fruit. But also June drop, when it drops them naturally, it can tend to drop more than is necessary. And so we're saving some of the harvest by taking care of that up front. So if you look at this cluster of fruit here, there are 5 apples. Now they're all about the same size, so this is a little bit more difficult in terms of picking which ones to go ahead and thin off the tree. If there's like one little small one or 2 small ones, those would be the first to go. But these are all the same. So I'm gonna leave 3 on here, and I'm gonna leave 3 that are kind of away from each other. So this middle one's gonna go, and this one here. So now you've got the 3 furthest fruit from each other. You can go ahead and take off another one, and there could be 2 fruits in this cluster, and they would just be bigger, but it's not necessary. If you grow Cymbidiums, we are ending the flowering portion of the year right now and moving into the growth portion. Now, these don't look great. In fact, they look terrible. They didn't look much better than this when they were fresh. I grow my Cymbidiums outdoors all year, which typically works fine. This winter, though, they were not loving life, and so they didn't do well. However, the basic care remains the same. In the fall, we switched to a bloom formula of fertilizer, and now in May, we switched to a growth formula. And I have a video on all this, but the 2 basics are fertilizer and then the lighting. Right now, well, since the fall, they've been in full sun, and now we're going into the warmer season, they're going to be moved into partial shade. And speaking of fertilizer, May is a great time to start a consistent fertilizing schedule. I use an organic liquid fertilizer, Neptune's Harvest. Typically throughout the season, every 2 to 3 weeks, I use Neptune's Harvest rose and flowering in the flowers and tomato and veg in the vegetable garden. I've heard from lots of you who have started using that on my recommendation and I've really loved it. So I have a link down in the description for the product and a discount code. You don't want to use synthetic fertilizers because they have too much fertilizer in them, mainly nitrogen, and that promotes a lot of vigorous green growth at the expense of flowers and vegetables, or just that much growth in and of itself can cause problems because when it does that much growth on in a very short time, the growth is weak, and weak plants are attacked more by pests and disease. May is typically a great time to start planting tropicals. However, if you have any risk of nights below 40 degrees, you want to probably hold off until June. So that's my list of garden jobs to do for May. Hopefully by the end of this month, like I said before, things will be pretty much back to normal and we'll be moving into a normal summer. Although I could go for a cooler summer than normal. I wouldn't complain too much. But whatever happens with the weather or pests or disease, you just have to roll with it. Roll with it, go with the process, learn as you go. Don't worry, don't sweat it, hang in there. If you learned something, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Please share it with a gardening friend, it really helps the video out, and I'll see you guys next time.